how to unlock the power hidden inside you. There is a force inside you that has been waiting for your permission, not your luck, not your background, not the approval of the world. Your permission, a sleeping fire, a buried engine, a silent kingdom of strength, vision, courage, and will that most people carry to the grave unopened, untouched, unrealized. And the tragedy is not that they were born without greatness. The tragedy is that they were born with it, but spent their lives doubting its existence. You were not created to crawl through life asking for a smaller storm. You were created to become the kind of person who can walk through any storm and remain standing. There is something in you that does not break when life gets heavy. There is something in you that becomes sharper in pain, wiser in silence, stronger in resistance. But that power does not reveal itself to the person who waits. It reveals itself to the person who decides. The one who looks at confusion and says, I will find clarity. The one who looks at fear and says, I will move anyway. The one who looks at a closed door and says, then I will build my own. Most people are not destroyed by failure. They are destroyed by hesitation, by the slow poison of self-doubt, by years of living beneath their own potential, because they made the fatal mistake of confusing their current condition with their permanent identity. They looked at their bank account and called themselves poor. They looked at their mistakes and called themselves broken. They looked at their circumstances and called themselves limited. But circumstances are not identity. Conditions are not destiny. Temporary darkness is not proof that the sun has abandoned the sky. Inside every person who has ever risen above the ordinary, there came a moment when they stopped asking the world what was possible and started asking themselves what they were willing to become. That is where power begins. It begins when your excuses lose their voice. It begins when your comfort stops feeling safe and starts feeling like a prison. It begins when you realize that your life will not be transformed by wishing, but by awakening, by seeing that your mind is not just a place where thoughts happen. It is a workshop, a battlefield, a throne room, a command center. And whatever you consistently build there will eventually appear in the architecture of your life. Look at the men and women history remembers. Thomas Edison was told again and again that he had failed, but he understood something. The average mind refuses to accept. Failure is data, not defeat. Andrew Carnegie rose from poverty, not because the world handed him privilege, but because he became a student of organized thought and relentless decision. Henry Ford was ridiculed for imagining a machine that the masses could use, and yet he pressed forward because vision always looks unreasonable to those who have made peace with limitation. Abraham Lincoln carried loss, rejection, heartbreak, and political defeat, but he did not allow pain to shrink his spirit. Walt Disney was once told he lacked imagination, which is the kind of sentence only a blind world says to a person carrying a universe inside them. These names are not powerful because they were superhuman. They are powerful because they prove that human beings become extraordinary the moment they stop bowing to appearances. The hidden power inside you does not come from being flawless. It comes from being focused. It does not come from never bleeding. It comes from refusing to stay on the ground after the wound. It does not come from having no fear. It comes from learning how to move with fear chained behind you instead of enthroned above you. The world has trained too many people to live from the outside in. They wake up and let circumstances tell them who they are. They let opinions define their value. They let setbacks define their future. They let the noise of society drown out the whisper of their own calling. And then they wonder why they feel empty, restless, disconnected, tired in their spirit, even when they have done everything they were told to do. The answer is simple. You cannot find power living as a copy. You cannot unlock greatness while betraying your own soul. You cannot become mighty while constantly kneeling to what other people expect from you. The power hidden inside you is unlocked the moment you begin living from the inside out. When your thoughts stop being random and start becoming deliberate. When your vision becomes stronger than your distraction. When your values become stronger than your impulses. When your future becomes so vivid in your mind that your present discomfort no longer has permission to stop you. This is the great turning point. This is where drift ends and direction begins. Every great life is built twice. First in the mind, then in the world. Before a cathedral stands in stone, it stands in vision. Before a company exists in reality, it exists in imagination. Before a transformed life appears in public, it is shaped in the unseen places of thought, belief, discipline, and private decision. This is why the first door to your hidden power is belief, not shallow belief, not empty slogans repeated without conviction. Real belief, the kind that rearranges your posture, the kind that changes the way you walk into a room, the kind that refuses to measure possibility by current evidence. Belief is not pretending obstacles do not exist. Belief is knowing they do exist and deciding they do not get the final word. Napoleon Hill understood that thought mixed with faith becomes a force, and that is not poetry alone. It is law in the life of every person who has ever changed their condition. When you repeatedly impress your mind with images of strength, purpose, success, contribution, courage, and achievement, you begin to alter your emotional nature. Your actions start to align with your inner picture. Your standards rise. Your tolerance for mediocrity falls. Your energy organizes itself around what you have accepted as possible. But most people never experience this because they feed their mind like a careless guard feeds a kingdom's gate. They let in fear, cynicism, comparison, gossip, defeat, bitterness, and distraction. Then they wonder why they feel weak. The mind is fertile ground. Whatever enters repeatedly will grow. If you plant doubt every day, do not pray for confidence and expect a miracle by nightfall. If you rehearse your limitations, do not be shocked when your life performs them on command. Your hidden power cannot grow in a mind that is constantly at war with its own potential. You must become selective, ruthless in what you allow to shape your thinking. The people around you matter. The words you repeat matter. The images you hold matter. The questions you ask yourself matter. Ask a weak question, and you will get a weak life. Why am I so unlucky? Why does nothing ever work for me? Why am I not enough? These questions build a prison brick by brick, but ask a stronger question, and your spirit begins to move. What can this teach me? Who must I become to carry the life I desire? What is this difficulty demanding that I develop? Where is the opportunity hidden inside this pressure? Greatness is often not a matter of different resources. It is a matter of different questions. The second door to your hidden power is clarity. A scattered mind has energy but no direction. A focused mind becomes a laser. One of the greatest reasons people stay trapped is because they are vague about everything that matters. Vague goals, vague standards, vague plans, vague identities. They say they want success. But success in what? They say they want wealth. But for what purpose? They say they want change. But what exactly are they willing to change? Fog creates hesitation. Clarity creates momentum. When a man with a clear aim wakes up, his day does not begin in confusion. It begins in command. He knows what matters. He knows what must be built. He knows what must be ignored. That kind of clarity is power because energy leaks wherever purpose is absent. You cannot unlock the giant within while living at the mercy of endless distraction. This world is full of thieves that do not wear masks, notifications, entertainment without limit, opinions without wisdom, movement without meaning, busyness without progress. Noise has become the favorite drug of the modern age because silence would force people to meet themselves. And that is why so many avoid silence. Because in silence, you hear the truth. You hear how much time you have wasted living for applause. You hear the dreams you abandoned because rejection embarrassed you. You hear the standards you lowered because discipline felt too heavy. You hear the quiet knowledge that you were built for more than this half-awake existence. Silence is not empty. It is revealing. It strips away illusion. It brings you face to face with what you truly want and who you are becoming. A person who wants to unlock hidden power must learn to sit alone long enough to become honest. Honest about their habits. Honest about their fear. Honest about the people draining their strength. Honest about the goals they speak about but never honor with action. Honest about where they have been pretending. Because transformation does not begin with performance. It begins with truth. And truth, though painful at first, is always a doorway to freedom. Once clarity enters, vision becomes possible. Vision is not fantasy. It is the disciplined art of seeing tomorrow before it arrives. It is the ability to hold an inner image so strong that your present reality starts bending toward it through your behavior decisions and persistence. Every builder sees before he builds. Every leader believes before others understand. Every creator holds the invisible long enough for it to become visible. That is the pattern. Always the unseen precedes the seen. When Martin Luther King Jr. spoke of a dream, he was not speaking as a man escaping reality. He was speaking as a man confronting reality with a stronger picture. When Ford envisioned a car for the common person, he was not describing what existed. He was declaring what could exist if vision outlasted ridicule. When Disney imagined entire worlds before anyone else could see them, he was practicing the ancient discipline of internal creation. The crowd usually honors results, but power begins long before results appear. It begins in the private act of seeing beyond the evidence. You must learn to see yourself differently before the world ever does. See the disciplined version of you. See the healed version of you. See the prosperous version of you. See the version of you that does not negotiate with weakness every morning. See the version of you that keeps promises, honors time, protects peace, speaks with conviction, works with intention, and stands on principle. Not as a fantasy to entertain you, but as a blueprint to direct you. The future does not belong to the person who merely hopes. It belongs to the person who sees with such emotional intensity that action becomes inevitable. And yet, vision alone is not enough. The hidden power inside you is not unlocked by dreams without structure. Fire without a furnace burns wild and disappears. It must be harnessed, directed, disciplined. That is where purpose enters. Purpose is what turns energy into meaning. It is what makes sacrifice bearable. It is what gives pain a direction. A person without purpose tires quickly because every challenge feels pointless. But a person with purpose can endure storms that would crush a weaker spirit because they know what they are carrying and why it matters. Purpose is not always found in one lightning strike. Sometimes it is uncovered in layers, in service, in responsibility, in the work that keeps calling your name, in the burden you are strangely willing to bear, in the injustice that stirs your soul, in the talent that refuses to stay silent, in the dream that follows you even after disappointment. Your purpose is often hidden near the place where your deepest strengths meet the world's deepest needs. And once you touch it, something changes in you. You stop living randomly. You stop spending yourself on things too small for your spirit. You begin to organize your days around contribution, growth, and mission. The people who change the world are not always the most gifted. Often, they are simply the most possessed by purpose. They have been seized by an idea greater than comfort. Carnegie was possessed by industrial vision, Edison by invention, Lincoln by union and moral courage, Mother Teresa by service, Nelson Mandela by justice. These people were not floating through life hoping to feel inspired. They were anchored. And because they were anchored, they could survive winds that would blow a shallow life completely off course. Without purpose, discipline feels like punishment. With purpose, discipline becomes devotion. That is a difference the average person rarely understands. They think discipline is about restriction. It is not. Discipline is about liberation. It frees you from the chaos of impulse. It frees you from being ruled by mood. It frees you from the tyranny of procrastination, distraction, and emotional weakness. Discipline is the bridge between the person you are and the person your vision requires. Every hidden power demands a container strong enough to hold it. Imagine a river with no banks. It floods and vanishes into mud. But give it structure, and it can carve valleys, turn turbines, and sustain cities. Your energy is the same. Your talent is the same. Your ambition is the same. Without discipline, your gift. With discipline, they multiply. The myth of modern life is that you must feel ready before you act, that you must feel inspired before you work, that you must feel confident before you begin. But the great builders of history would laugh at such fragility. Action creates clarity. Movement generates momentum. Repetition builds confidence. You do not wait for the fire. You strike the match. You do not wait to feel powerful. You practice power through behavior until your emotions catch up. The soul becomes stronger by command, not by convenience. This is why mornings matter. The first hour of your day is not a small thing. It is a declaration. It tells your mind whether you are living by design or by default. When you rise and immediately surrender your attention to chaos, you train yourself to be a servant. But when you rise with intention, with stillness, with reading, writing, prayer, thought, movement, vision, and directed purpose, you remind yourself that your life belongs to the highest within you, not the lewdest around you. There is enormous hidden power in keeping promises to yourself. Small promises wake up when you said you would. Finish what you started. Do the hard thing before the easy one. Speak truthfully, save money. Read the extra pages. Take the walk. Make the call. Refuse the distraction. These acts seem ordinary, but they are not. They are identity builders. Every kept promise is a vote for the stronger self. Every broken promise is a lesson your mind absorbs about who you are allowed to be. Over time, these votes create character, and character is power in its most reliable form. Too many people want the fruit of greatness without the roots of greatness. They want confidence without preparation, wealth without value, influence without integrity, results without consistency. But nature does not bend for impatience. The oak tree does not apologize for growing slowly. The mountain does not hurry to prove its height. Everything lasting is built through layers. Day upon day, choice upon choice, quiet act upon quiet act. And eventually what looked invisible becomes undeniable. That is why resilience matters so deeply. The hidden power inside you is not merely the ability to start. It is the ability to continue, to remain when things become difficult, to stand when the season is dry, to keep faith when results are delayed. Most people overestimate talent and underestimate endurance. But history again and again shows that the person who stays with the mission long enough gains an advantage that brilliance alone cannot provide. Lincoln lost elections before he led a nation. Edison faced thousands of unsuccessful attempts before his breakthroughs became legend. Colonel Sanders was rejected again and again before a recipe became an empire. J.K. Rowling met rejection before the world knew her stories. These are not just stories about eventual success. They are stories about emotional stamina, about the refusal to interpret delay as denial, about the ability to look humiliation in the face and remain committed to the call. There will be seasons when your effort appears unanswered, seasons when you work and no one notices, seasons when you improve and life still feels heavy, seasons when doors remain closed and doubts grow loud at midnight. These are the moments when hidden power is forged, not when crowds applaud, but when silence tests you, not when the road is clear, but when fog surrounds you and you keep walking because turning back would cost you your soul. Resilience is born from meaning. The strongest people are not people who feel nothing. They feel deeply, they bleed, they grieve, they get tired, they question, but they have built an inner agreement with themselves that pain will instruct them, not own them. They know that adversity can either make a person bitter or make a person brilliant, depending on what philosophy governs the mind. The same fire that melts wax-hardened steel, the same struggle that causes one person to quit causes another to awaken. The difference is interpretation, and interpretation is choice. This is where your hidden power becomes almost sacred, because no matter what has happened to you, there remains one kingdom that no enemy can fully seize unless you surrender it. The meaning you assign to your life. Viktor Frankl saw this in the darkest of human conditions. He understood that when everything external is stripped away, the final freedom remains the power to choose one's response. That truth is not small. It is one of the deepest sources of human dignity. If you can choose your response, you are never utterly powerless. If you can choose your meaning, suffering can become fuel. If you can choose your standard, completely define you. This does not mean pretending pain is pleasant. It means refusing to waste it. Some of the most powerful people on earth are powerful because life broke their illusions, because loss forced them to become deeper, because betrayal taught discernment, because failure burned away vanity, because hardship introduced them to dimensions of courage they would have never met in comfort. The wound became a workshop. The scar became a sermon. The valley became a furnace where weakness was exposed and strength was born. You must stop asking why life has been hard and start asking what hardness is building in you. You must stop worshiping ease as if comfort were the highest good. Comfort has its place, but it has never built a giant. Giants are built by resistance. Muscles grow by opposition. Minds sharpened by challenge. Souls deepen by suffering that is met with faith. If you want to unlock the power hidden inside you, you must stop resenting every weight and start understanding that some weights were sent to reveal what you can carry.